So today I would like to answer a question that was sent to me by a friend of mine. I have known this man for years. He was a good friend to me long before I started doing this video series. He's been watching. And Christopher, I appreciate so much that you watch. Christopher writes and he asks me, I would like to see a video on how to find the right tricks for oneself and maybe the pros and cons of some tricks. Finding the right stuff for you is a lifelong quest. This is where magic and life dovetail. Because we have to find ourselves a little bit. I mean, that's a cliche, right? That goes back to the 60s. I got to go find myself. But what I mean by that is knowing who you are is a challenge. It's difficult to do. I mean, you have the influence of other people. You have the influence of our culture. You have the influence of politics, the influence of religion. It's very hard to separate all that out and discover who you really are. But if you really want to find the stuff that's you, if you want to find the material that you were born to perform, you have to go on this journey of self-discovery. Who am I? What are my values? What do I believe in? On the walls of the Temple of Delphi, there is a now famous maxim, and it goes like this: know thyself. Know thyself. I think it was Aleister Crowley maybe who expanded that a little bit and said, magician, know thyself. Because until you know yourself, everything else is frustrating. You know, you decide on a career field. Why? Because you think you can make money in it, right? So you go into the career field and you hate your job. You hate your job. You get up in the morning and you're suffering. And why are you suffering? Because you didn't evaluate if the job was right for you. You just went to do it. Maybe you invested 4 years into a college degree without ever stopping to consider if it was the right path for you. This is the importance of knowing yourself, of taking the time to figure out, who am I, what are my values? Once you know who you are, everything else falls into place. The question of what material should I select becomes a very easy question to answer. But folks, I'm 60 years old, and I'm still discovering who I am. I mean, it's a journey, man. It's a journey, and there's no shortcuts. But let me give you some practical advice. Okay, that's metaphysical advice. Okay, that knowing yourself is philosophical. Let me give you some practical advice. I'm going to give you 4 questions. I'm going to put them down below so you can read them. You can refer to them. I'm going to give you 4 questions that you should be asking. I'm going to give you 4 questions that you need to ask yourself when you're putting together your show. Question number 1. What is your specialty or genre? What type of magic are you doing? What type of magic are you naturally drawn to? Let me give you some examples. I did a video on types and styles of magic. You can reference that. I'll try to put a link down below. But let me just give you some broad strokes here. You can specialize in close-up. Dave Vernon was the definitive close-up performer. He did tricks with coins and cards. Close-up performer. Cups and balls. Close-up. You can be a mentalist. In essence, a mentalist reads minds or projects thoughts to another mind. It's mind magic, and I love it. It's my favorite type of magic. You can do stage magic. Full stage. Curtains. Back sets. Large props. Illusions. A full cast. Back in the day, they used an orchestra. You can do stage magic. You can do parlor magic. Now, parlor magic, I would put, for example, children's entertainers or family entertainers in the category of parlor magician. So first of all, get clear on the subgenre. Magic is the genre of performance art. Close-up, mentalism, stage, parlor, these are subgenres of magic. So what subgenre are you most interested in? Which are you most drawn to? As you go toward that, then you begin to identify the venues where you can potentially work. For example, if you want to do close-up magic, most or many close-up magicians begin to market their services to restaurants and bars. It's a logical place to work. That will define your audience, that will define your venue, that defines how you select material. If, for example, you're doing restaurant magic, you want to select material that you can do out of your pockets and in your hands or the hands of the spectators. You want to try to avoid magic that is dependent on a table, on a servante, on various types of gimmicks like that, because you may not have those available to you in the genre. So you can see how once you start answering these questions, you begin to define your own material. Question number 2, who is your audience? Who is your audience? Now, when I'm putting together a show, I visualize as specifically as possible the audience I'm performing for. For example, if I get a gig in a retirement center, and not all retirement centers pay poorly, by the way, but if I get a gig in a retirement center, I'm visualizing the age, the genders, the deportment of those individuals. I'm seeing them sitting in front of me as I rehearse and develop my material. And very often, as I rehearse, I'm taking something out and putting something in that I feel is most appropriate for the audience. If I get a birthday party gig, I know that I'm going to be performing. I ask what the age of the child is. It might be 8. It might be 12, might be 16. Each age bracket has a different need set. But one thing you got to keep in mind when you're doing family entertainment, the children aren't the only people you're entertaining. The children are going to be sitting in front of you, but around you are a bunch of adults, usually standing around with cocktails talking. But you want to capture them and bring them in too. And if you can do that, if you can win their attention and hold their attention and entertain them, they're going to tip you. Many times over, they're going to tip you. So do that. Now, let me just share something with you with regard to your audience and knowing your audience. This book, by the way, I've decided to specialize in mentalism. That's what I do. And you might say, well, if you're a mentalist, you can't really do that for children. Wrong. You actually can do that for children. This is a book called Performing Mentalism for Young Minds, Volume 1. There are 2 volumes. It's chock full of material on mentalism for children. Now, there's a chart in here on page 48. And let me tell you something. If you don't own this book, the chart on page 48 makes the book worth it. Okay? On page 48, they list skills. Down the one column here, skills. Knows the names of colors, knows letters, knows numbers, can use scissors, can tie a simple knot, can write their name, can read simple words, knows the names of playing cards, can tell time on an analog clock, can shuffle a deck of cards, knows the value of money. Now you'll notice that I just read down the list. And this is the age across here, beginning with age 2 and going up to age 12. Age 12, it's actually by age 11 that children can identify denominations of money. So if you're doing coin effects for a 5-year-old, the 5-year-old may not know the difference between a quarter and a dime. And also if you're doing card effects, if you're doing card effects for children, according to this chart, a child knows the suits and values of cards at age 8. So if you're doing card effects for children under the age of 8, they're not going to know the difference between one card and another. Even at age 8, you're going to find audiences that still don't know the difference between one card and another. So this chart is very, very informative when it comes to gauging where a young mind is in terms of their development, and that helps you select material. So if you don't own the book, I highly recommend it. It's called Performing Mentalism for Young Minds. Even if you don't do mentalism, that chart will help you select material. And by the way, some of the mentalist effects in here, you know, if you're a family entertainer, it's just absolute gold. Paul Romney is the actual editor that pulled the book together. Lots of different contributors, though. So I highly recommend that to you. Question number 1, what is your specialty? Question number 2, who is your audience? Question number 3, what is your venue? What is your venue? So you know your specialty, you know your genre, you know who your audience is. The next question is, where are you going to be performing? If you're going to be performing in restaurants, once again, you need to work out of your pockets. Okay? If you're going to perform in a living room, say in a family environment, it's appropriate to take a table and or a suitcase table, or carry your props in a suitcase, set up, have a setup time. Another thing to be aware of in family entertainment in private homes, when you perform in private homes, you may be surrounded. So you have to take that into account. I have done work on platform and stage where I expected to have the privacy so that I could work effects that you cannot do surrounded, and found out when I got to the venue that that wasn't the case. It always helps to be able to perform in such a way that you can do it surrounded. I'm going to speak to that in a second. When you're selecting material, it's good to have material that resets instantly. It's good to have material that packs as flat as humanly possible to conserve space. What you don't want to do is make several trips to your car to try to set up for your show. You want to be able to walk in. I normally carry a small sound system and my props and a table, and that's about it. I can make that trip in one haul from the car most of the time. Question number 4. Within the confines of the above, what do you enjoy doing? So here's what you've done. You've defined your specialty. You know what magic you like to do. You know who the audience is that you're going to be performing for. You know what venue you're going to be performing in. Now the question is, what turns you on? You know, what excites you? What are you happiest doing? Throw everything out the window. Let me tell you something. For years, I thought I should master the classics. I did a cups and balls routine for, 25 years. I did the linking rings for 25 years. Here's what happened. I was building my show, and I wanted to do Grand Illusion, full stage. I was building my show, and then Jill Kennard, person I was working with, left the show. She and I had worked together for 10 years. And during that 10-year period, I built a 2-person show. When she left the show, I had to ask myself some tough questions that I had never asked myself before. Questions like, okay, I'm a solo performer. What do I really want to do? What really excites me? And let me tell you why I chose mentalism. I chose mentalism because I like the plots better. Not because I like the effects better. I like the plots better. I like the idea. I think it's more engaging, personally. It's more engaging for my audience when I say to them, I'm going to try to project a thought into your mind. I want you to concentrate. I'm going to concentrate now. I'm going to project that thought into your mind. They're engaged in that. They really are. As opposed to, take the ball, vanish it, look, it appears under the glass. Now you can script a cups and balls routine so that it has meaning. But, let me tell you, folks, you need to engage your audience. And you do that with story. You do that with something that is meaningful to them. And so that's why I gravitated to mentalism. And the material that I select is material that relates to my interests, that has strong plots, that are engaging to me and to the audience. So within the confines of your genre, your expected audience, your venue, you're looking for material that you really have fun doing. And it doesn't matter if it requires a lot of skill or not. Skill isn't the point. The point is entertainment. You're there to engage your audience. You're there to have a good time. You're there to have fun. If you're not having fun, they're not having fun. If you don't enjoy doing the cups and balls, throw it out. Do something else. Do whatever is fun for you. Christopher, thank you so much for asking the question. I hope I've answered it. Please comment down below and please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day.